rainy day, sitting on the porch, reading social media, primarily Facebook. A group of people who I seem to get their feed or information or whatever you call it all have to do with the combative arts or primarily combative pistolcraft. Lots of controversies going on. Is it heart rate or not? Is it cortisol dump or not? Does Hicks' law apply or not? I don't know. The one thing I do know is the people that argue this stuff, they're going to come down on the side of the argument that benefits them, whether they're a trainer or someone selling a product. I really don't know. I've been looking at this now for 40 years, and I still not sure exactly what transpires. What I do know is that some people rise to the occasion and some don't. Some never will. I don't care how much training or preparation they make. They just don't have the state of mind that allows them to fight back in the most pandemonium, frightful few seconds of your life. I wish there was an inoculation we could give for that, but there's not, and there never will be, to the best of my knowledge. Another thing that comes up constantly on these social media things is competition or combat. I don't know why we debate this stuff. I'm not sure that anyone ever knows. Well, we've got scientific research that says. Yeah, scientific research. It's like, you should get all of the vitamin C or D that you can. Just overload on it. Just fill yourself full of it. But maybe not. Maybe it gives you cancer if you get too much of it. Yep, stay out of the sun. Because you know what? The sun is bad for you. It's going to give you skin cancer. Well, no, wait a minute. Maybe staying out of the sun's not a good thing because the vitamins that you get from the sun you can't get anywhere else. And maybe it's just those people that stay out of the sun and never get exposed to it. And when they do, they get skin cancer. I don't know. Maybe it's cholesterol. Maybe we should stay away from cholesterol because cholesterol causes heart attacks. But now maybe not. You see what I mean about scientific research? Figures lie and liars figure. So I've read all of these studies over the years. I've been to more than my share of training schools. I've heard all the experts talk. I've read the books. And some of the stuff I knew was BS right from the get-go. But I didn't stand up and say so because I'm like many people, like, these people are famous and you shouldn't argue with famous people, but should we? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. What I do know is it's probably wise to study the people who have been there and done that. These days, most of the folks in the combative training or combative firearms training community kind of look to the special operations forces. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not disputing that one little bit. Those guys are well trained. They've got a great deal of experience and knowledge, and they should be heard. But most of the focus on those folks came after 9/11. Maybe some after the Black Hawk Down incident, but most of it after 9/11. And quite frankly, I'd been looking at it since the mid-1970s. I tend to look at the Old West shootists. Gunfighters was a 1950s term, but the shootists, the guys that lived by the gun, because quite frankly, they were pistol fighters. Well, revolver fighters, but since there was no semi-automatic pistols, revolvers were pistols. Probably due to my growing up in the 50s and 60s when most of the stuff on television was Westerns. But boy, since I was a kid, I have been all over the United States. I've gone to Tombstone, Dodge City, Deadwood, Virginia City, went and looked at all these still in existence Western towns, and I've read everything I can on it. And it's kind of interesting to note that, at least in my humble opinion, Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday were probably sitting on the porch in Tombstone talking about the same things that we now talk about on the internet. The best equipment, how to do this, how to do that, what kind of a concealing garment. Interesting little side note, the low-slung Buscadero holsters that you see in most Westerns, really didn't come around until the late 40s, the 1950s. Cowboys didn't wear holsters like that. The holsters they did wear were confined to when they were on the range riding a horse, and they were basically just a leather pouch with a loop that went over their belt. They rode pretty high. In many towns, they concealed their guns. They wore them down the front of their waistband in appendix carry, or they put them in their pockets. Little known piece of history. Just a couple of days before the gunfight in the vacant lot behind the OK Corral, Wyatt Earp had taken delivery of a long black coat, what we call a duster, and the pocket was lined with canvas so that he could draw his revolver very quick without snagging on it. And a lot of documentation that states that that's where Wyatt Earp usually kept his gun, was in his pocket. So anyway, we probably talk about the same thing. So I kind of look to those guys when it comes to deciding how this should be done. Yeah, they're not the only factor, but I think they've got something to say and they should be heard. You know, Bat Masterson once said that the secret to winning a gunfight was deliberation, accuracy, and speed, in that order. Deliberation. Not exactly a mindset, but a state of mind. Because what did deliberation mean? Well, you know, he clarified it years later. He says, I've met many men whose courage is without question, and their skill is unmatched, and they failed to lesser men who added deliberation to the equation. They took deliberate action. I think Wyatt Earp, his good buddy, even clarified it more when he said, shooting at a man who is returning the compliment means going into action with the greatest speed of which a man's muscles are capable, but mentally unflustered by an urge to hurry or the need for complicated nervous and muscular actions which trick shooting involves. What did they mean by trick shooting? You know, gun fanning or shooting from the hip. Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson were very much sighted shooters. The gun had to get up in front of your eye level, and you wanted to use that bumpy thing on the front of the barrel. Wyatt Earp went on to add later that the most important lesson he learned was that the winner of gunplay usually was the one who took his time. Now, he didn't totally neglect speed, because he said the secret to winning a gunfight was taking your time in a hurry. So basically, deliberation is maybe the secret to all this. Not whether or not you've got an elevated heart rate, or you get a dump of cortisol, or there's too many tactics to choose from, not enough decisions to be, or not enough time to make decisions. Maybe it's the person who goes into the fight unflustered, who has the state of mind to do what it takes to win. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because there's a whole lot of BS on the internet, just like there's always been a whole lot of BS in the gun magazines and the books that were written and the videos that came. I'm not sure what we're ever going to know what makes someone better capable than another. We do know that it's not the speed of their draw, or how fast they can swing the sword, or how tight a group, or how quick a reload they can do. It's the person that can hold themselves in check, can keep themselves together, and while bullets are flying past them, or punches are coming in their direction, or someone's trying to stick them with a sharp object, they can keep themselves in control and do what they need to do. In the case of pistol fighting, because handguns aren't very effective, it's putting very accurate rounds to a relatively small area of the body quickly, deliberately. So instead of just panic firing and hoping that you get the shots you need, basically what you do is you keep yourself under control and you place the shots where they'll do some good. Are we going to continue with scientific research? We probably would, and we should. But will we ever physiologically, biomechanically, biologically get the answer? Who knows? But we need to keep trying. and we need to keep fighting.